Loaded. I want to thank you all for coming. And hey, if you haven't, check me out at twitter.com/Laura Reloaded, twitch.tv/Laura Reloaded. Also, we're going to get this out of the way. These will have spoilers. We're going to be breaking down Star Trek Picard. Unfortunately, due to some stuff that's going on where I live, my kids didn't go to school, so I'm running a little late. I apologize for that. And they may, in fact, join us at some point. So, fun-filled adventure. The most recent Star Trek Picard has come out, which says the ending is the beginning. And in my opinion, this is probably the weakest episode to date, with some worrying aspects to it, as well as some foreshadowing, I guess. I really, really believe, and I don't think this is a far stretch, but I do believe that we're seeing the destruction of Starfleet, or the beginning of the end for the for Starfleet. There's a lot of things in the background that you can see, a lot of inferences you can make that really kind of just show how it's turned dystopian. Now, I'm going to say dystopian by Federation aspects, from a Federation point of view. I think it's still probably a really hopeful future for us. But when you look at it from what we've always been told, what we see in TNG, DS9, and Voyager, it's definitely taken a turn down. But before we get into it, what is going on with everybody? We got Mega Regenerate in the house. Things are going well. VovaCat, Ema, Deckfish. It's always a pleasure to have Gopher697. Commander M is the last of the MIB. I'm guessing that's true. And Michael Lindsay. Michael Lindsay, it is always good to listen to you too, my friend. Always good to listen to you too. Now, you guys know how this goes. We will not be hearing any audio because I prefer to keep my channel and not have it destroyed by a soulless corporation. So, let's go ahead and start. Get all this set up. Up, here we go. You know, I could just take screenshots beforehand and just go over it, but where's the fun in that? So, the episode, and again, there will be spoilers, the episode starts out effectively with Admiral Picard and I think it's Commander Rafi, I guess. Basically, as I've referred to her beforehand, Star Trek's Zoe. The conversation, it's more, this happened 14 years ago. It's more giving us information on the attack on Mars. Ultimately, Picard still wants to go and save the Romulans. He gave another plan since, you know, all of the ships had been destroyed, as well as Utopia Planitia and Mars being on fire. He still wanted to help out the Romulans to the best of his ability. So he goes back in, he gives them another plan. This is how we can save as many people as possible. They, of course, decline, and Starfleet Command says, you know, we're not going to do that. The admirals, all of them, are against it. Picard comes back and says, you either do this plan, or I will resign. And, again, spoilers, they accept his resignation. There's a couple of things about this scene. Before I get into that, Rafi also is aghast. She still wants to save the Romulans. She even wants to do it without Starfleet's help. And she seems to think that it's due to the Tal Shiar, which Picard doesn't buy at all. And sees that there's some kind of plot here that just doesn't make any sense. Ultimately, too, Picard resigning, them accepting Picard's resignation, means that Rafi is going to lose her security clearance and is not going to be as so super-duper important anymore. Which apparently this chick is the vainest chick on God's green earth, because her losing her security clearance, her losing this big, important, super-duper job, just destroys her, apparently. Apparently that's how it works. Apparently if she can't do this job, then by God, who the hell is she? These are the same uniforms they saw in the comics as well. People were talking about how they like the comics. So, let's discuss the bigotry, or the fear and intolerance. Because that's what this scene says. That's how this scene goes. They don't want to help the Romulans because of intolerance and because of fear. So Picard says that half of the people, I don't think it was the council, but half, they just refer, it's vague, unless he says it and I just didn't hear it. But he says half of them never wanted to help the Romulans out, and half of them are reacting. They're not thinking logically. And then he says, I never thought Starfleet would run on intolerance and fear. We don't know a lot on those who didn't want to help out the Romulans. We don't know if it's intolerant. We don't know if it's because they don't like the color of the Romulans' blood. We don't know. I made a video, and I stand by that Starfleet has always been fearful, to the point of intolerance, of certain species, Romulans and even Klingons at times. And when things get tough, Starfleet Command is more than willing to back off and not assist. And the Federation as well. These are things that are written and are canonized, and you'll find it in the original series. You'll find it in The Next Generation. You'll find it in Deep Space Nine. And I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I would almost bet money you could find it in Voyager. Maybe not, because they really weren't connected with Starfleet Command, but I don't know. The other ones for sure. So, the fact that Starfleet, or even the Federation Council, would be fearful or not want to help the Romulans is not out of the question. I think that there's also some possible justification for it. Unlike the Klingons, the Romulans have never been friends or friendly with Starfleet, with the exception of the Dominion War, and even then, they tried to put bases within the Allied lines and start to do land grabs with their allies. So even when they were on good terms, they were always trying to use subterfuge. There's very little reason for anyone in Starfleet to ever trust the Romulans, and there's very little reason for the Federation to have a good opinion of them. And you know, even though it sounds crazy, I don't think it's unrealistic for some within Starfleet to wonder if there isn't some long game here by the Romulans. I know it sounds weird, but the Romulans are always playing chess. There's always, this is Picard's words, it's always a chess game, Picard says, with the Romulans. So is there an ulterior motive? Are they going to somehow use this in order to take out the Federation or take out the Klingons? It would be it would be so on par with what we see with the Romulans for them to try something like that. It's not above their... It's not out of the scope of what they would do. So those who are quote-unquote intolerant aren't without merit in what they're saying. Now, those who are fearful, I think it's just human, for lack of a better word or idiom. So, Utopia Planitia is the mainstay of where all ships are made for the Federation, or for Starfleet. It is the largest facility. Not the only one, but the largest facility. 100,000 people have just been killed. Earth, the place that is generally never attacked. You can count on one hand the amount of times Earth has been attacked. And now, in its solar system, 100,000 people are dead. The main operations to build the fleet that protects the Federation is gone. And here we are. Let's turn that off for a second. Here we are. Here is the again, I'm trying to think of my words here. I can get distracted so easily. Here you have just an epically huge, massive disaster. So, with the bulk of the fleet being all that Starfleet is going to be able to field for a while, they're going to have to restore Utopia Planitia. They're going to have to get other shipyards. So the ships they have are the ships they're going to have to rely on. So already we're in a weakened spot. We're not going to be able to fix the ships we have as easily, and we're not going to be able to create or build new ones. 100,000 people are dead. Half of the Senate, or whatever, half the Federation and Starfleet didn't want to do it anyway. And if someone takes advantage, like the Dominion that never had its infrastructure attacked. If I was the Dominion and I was still quote-unquote evil, now's the time. Now is the time. So they have to worry about defending their own people as well. So them saying, we can't do it, we have to worry about our own, isn't, in my opinion, out of the scope. It seems something that would be logical, honestly. It just seems... It just seems human. But I'd be interested in your thoughts, because the way Picard looks at it is he looks at it as intolerance and as fear and as some epically bad thing. I disagree. It may be the wrong decision. I would agree with that. It may be the wrong decision because you are leaving a lot of people to die. Even though I wonder why the Klingons aren't helping out. I wonder why the Breen, the Cardassians, the Dominion. I wonder why it's all on Starfleet to do this. But still, you are leaving a lot of people to die. It could be the wrong decision. But it's not necessarily an immoral one. But I'd be curious about what's your guys' conversation. Now, for those who are watching, I may actually at one point do breakdowns, but that'll be a separate video. These live streams are more me giving my opinions and you guys giving me your thoughts on it. And I'd be very curious to see where you guys are at with that. Also, there are 84 people watching and only 20 likes. Come on, hit that like. Let's make this a conversation. Of course, Deckfish says that never trust a Cardassian. Ensign Ricky is now banned from the chat. They look good in those uniforms. I would agree. In the TNG episode where Geordi LaForge and Ensign Ro are invisible, Romulans try to send a feedback up to transfer to destroy the Enterprise D. I agree. There were loads of other shipyards. I don't know that there were quote-unquote loads of other shipyards. I would say there are a lot. We don't know exactly. But Utopia Planitia has always been the mainstay of the shipyards. It's in Starfleet history, in the Star Trek timeline. That's what we've been told over and over again. Vovocat says it is logical and human, but Picard is, Picard. You know what a man he is. It's very in character for him. Him calling them intolerant, I don't know if that's in character, but I would agree he would still want to help and would still fight it. What's going on, Sean? Hope you're doing well. I see the Picard storyline as a continuation of the storyline of Undiscovered Country, only with role reverses, putting the Federation on the wrong side of the moral view. Again, I don't know that it's immoral. I would say, hi. Hey, what's up, buddy? I would say that it is... I think it may be the wrong choice. But morality, in this instance, I don't know that's immoral to want to take care of your own. Why are you doing this? What do you want? And Xindi attacked Earth and Enterprise. As I said, you can count on one hand. Isn't there a shipyard around Jupiter? I don't know. Is there a shipyard around Jupiter? There may be. $3. By the way, you can go to lorereload.com, see the things that are being funded there. If you want to fund something, definitely consider. 90 people watching, 30 likes. The likes are not... Don't be scared of the likes. They're more scared of you than you are of them. I feel a Starfleet rebirth coming on at the end of Season 1. I don't. I think they're going to destroy Starfleet. I think they're going to lead into what we see in Discovery. Which, depending on your take on that, if it's bad or good. Stop. Alright. So, let's continue on. Shan't we? Shan't we? Well, let me mute that. I don't think you guys can hear it, but I'll still make sure. Her getting so upset about... her getting so upset about losing her commission and everything is just, it's a bad character trait. Star Trek Zoe, it's, you know, it's not endearing. I don't like her. She comes off as petty. She comes off as greedy. She comes off as woe is me. She's a very... The character herself, while they're trying to portray her as strong, it's just a whiny brat. A whiny brat who, wait for it, becomes a druggie. A whiny brat who, when she doesn't get her way, she doesn't pick herself up by her bootstraps. She doesn't take everything she has. She doesn't take having this important role, even if it was taken away from her. She doesn't do anything with that. She just says, oh no, Picard quit and they took away, they took my command away, so I'm gonna go to drugs. Oh no. This character, she is not Starfleet material, and her not being in Starfleet is the best option. She could not cut it. At least the Starfleet that Picard was a part of. Let's discuss this interaction between her and Picard. So Picard, of course, comes and reaches out to her and says, you know, Romulans are running around with Starfleet approval. I need your help, blah, blah, blah. She brings up an interesting piece. Now, a lot of people try to argue this with me, but you're wrong. You just are. You're objectively wrong. The Starfleet itself does not use currency within its borders. Not since season 2 or season 3 of The Next Generation. This is logical and makes a lot of sense because Starfleet has industrial replicators and they have regular replicators and can make anything they want. They are a post-scarcity population. Now, currency might come in the form of energy or it might come in the form of time, but not an economy that we're used to, not with money. Outside of the Federation, like the Bajorans, like the Ferengi, like the Romulans, they all have money and have economies. It would make sense that Starfleet may have some type of reserve that they would use to interact with other corporations or other governments. But Starfleet itself and the Federation don't have an economy. That said, Lore Runner has a theory that I think has a lot of merit to it. So if you look at the Federation, with Earth being ground zero, as you slowly move out, the excess, the paradise, is less and less. So the further out on the borders you get, the more of a necessity for a partial or some type of economy may be needed to some small degree. Like when you see on the Bajoran frontier, which isn't Federation space, they still use an economy. So it's possible Starfleet either pays their people or has some kind of largesse that they provide in that instance. You also see trade on the frontier because the energy may come at a premium and they still need things shipped in. But the economy as we know it doesn't exist. Or it didn't until Star Trek Picard. One of the things that this whiny Star Trek version of Zoe complains about is how Picard is sitting in his mansion with oak chairs and just so awesome. And how he's living in luxury and she's in a shack. How she doesn't have anything. Now, we know that they have replicators. We know that they can create anything they want. And yet now humanity, for whatever reason, has reverted. And they're going to talk about money in the future. So humanity, for whatever reason, has reverted to an economy. Not only have they reverted to an economy, we now have those who have things and those who don't. And those who don't are not only persons of color, but are also druggies, are also addicts. This is the future, good friends. Now, I'm being pretty hard, I guess I'd say, on them. I'm being pretty harsh. But it's still... I could see this happening to Starfleet or to the Federation if you're going to start to see a decay. Especially if Starfleet, as we're going to find out in the future, has been co-opted to some degree. And the Federation by that stance. And so it can make some sense. It's just, it feels somewhat of like a shell shock, I guess. And I can understand why people feel like it's not their Star Trek or it's diminished. Because again, this is as far away from Gene Roddenberry as you can get, I think. And even if Gene Roddenberry had horrible ideas, of which I would agree, if you always look to Star Trek as being like this happy, hope-filled thing, then this is not what you're going to want. It's not what you're going to like. But I would be I'd be open to your guys' opinions on that. Think you covered years ago that they kept money in reserve, Michael Lindsay. Yeah, I've always had that opinion that they do have, that Starfleet and the Federation would have money in reserve because they still have to interact with all of these other empires. So it wouldn't make any sense not to do that, right? But still. Nathan says, the bright and hopeful future where there is no money, no greed, no poverty. Yeah, there wasn't. But again, I think we've seen the slow fade. I think we're starting to see it go down. Yeah, and Picard could only say he was sorry for letting her down. I really don't like her in that instance. I don't, it's not Picard's fault. Picard didn't have anything to apologize for. She could have taken care of it, you know? Can't replicate real estate. That's cool, Hontus Farmer. That has nothing to do with replicating a house, which you definitively can. Anyone could have anything they wanted. Now, even if you didn't have enough space on Earth, you could go somewhere else because they can simply make it that way. Tatarack says, that was the strangest part of the episode. I didn't think there was such a thing as a dump anywhere people would live, since in Picard's own words, humanity doesn't strive for material gain anymore. But they do. This is an undoing or a fade of what we see in the Next Generation. That English gent. Hey, man, do you finally acknowledge that this really isn't Star Trek, or at least acknowledge that it isn't canon? It is not only canon, but it is Star Trek, definitionally. You are definitionally incorrect by saying it's not. Just by its very definition. I still think that this is the fill, and this can be... if we're talking about continuity, I still think there's continuity here. But, I wouldn't say there's a lot of continuity with Discovery, but it's still Star Trek, it's still canon, definitionally. But, I don't think there's continuity with it. But in Picard, I still think it is continuity. I don't think it's happy. I don't think it's bright. The reason he's flying a Corvette class Picard's going to die in a battle, I don't think that's going to happen. It was great to see Hugh. We're going to get in that in a second. If decay was to happen, it would be because of 1,000 cuts. Rebuild from the Dominion War, Borg incursions before Voyager finale, Mars attack. Yeah, and we're going to get into that, DJ Minor. But I think that, and I discussed this on Twitter. Hey, if you'd like to discuss this stuff as I'm watching it, because I go crazy when I watch stuff. Michael Lindsay, thanks for becoming a member. I'll get back to that in a second. I think that it wasn't just the Mars attack. I think the Mars attack was the final straw. I think the Mars attack was finally where Starfleet said, enough. We're done. For 200 years, we have been getting hit minute after minute after minute after minute. And we're done. Okay? We're done with these random aliens wanting to talk to whales. We're done with these virgin computers wanting to have sex with our officers. We're done with these Borg wanting to assimilate. Get all these mother effing Jem'Hadar off this mother effing Alpha Quadrant. We're done with all of this stuff. Okay? Now Mars is destroyed. I'm out. I'm done. You guys deal with that on your own. And that I would agree it's death by 1,000 cuts. And I think that they're done with it. Talk to you later, Deckfish. Thanks for coming by. And I don't think that's unreasonable necessarily. I mean, when is enough enough? How many people have to die? Is that just the fate? Now, Michael Lindsay becoming a member. If you guys don't want to do Patreon, you don't want to become a part of that, you can get some of the similar features that you do on Patreon, but you don't have to be a part of that. You can become a member. Become a member by hitting that join button right below this video. Viren Victus helping out the channel. By the way, anytime you guys donate or give money, you can fund your own personal projects. Go to lorereload.com to see projects currently up, or let me know where you want the money to go. That puts it in front of the line. Even things I don't normally do, I'll do for you. Not much difference between Spiderleaf and Romulan L. Okay. Chief Zilla. Let me write that down, because I think that's a good point. Actually, I think there's an answer to that. So I'm going to address it a little bit, and then we'll get into it more. So why aren't EMHs outlawed? EMHs actually may be outlawed. If you listen to the dialogue and you watch it, this is an unregistered transport, one that's off the books. So him using an EMH, he's a criminal. So I don't think he cares about whether it's outlawed to use an EMH or not. You gotta watch. It's a little bit. Even in perfect socialism, not everyone will have the same place to live. That's not what socialism is about. Sure, Mako, and I'm not talking about perfect socialism. I'm talking about a society that has industrial replicators. Industrial replicator. Is it time for you to have your Philly cheesesteak? I don't know if it's time for me. Hold on. If she gets annoyed, I'm going to be mad at you guys. Jamie MK becoming a member. Thanks so much. She probably won't answer, but let's watch. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Nope. No Philly cheesesteak for me, good friends. All right, so let's continue on. I'm going to come back to the EMH thing. I don't think it's out of the norm, though. I love your channel too, Tremaine Mayweather. I love your channel as well. All right. Let's go. Yeah, there was also the archive hologram I asked before somewhere else. What about the doctor? He's pretty advanced. The archive hologram, I think, is a little tougher to explain. It could be that synths, and that's a good point. I didn't even consider that. It could be that synths are only androids. See, we're making the assumption that synthetic life means holograms. There's been no evidence that it's meant anything other than androids. So by that, unless there's something more to it, I think that probably they're only talking about androids. Yeah, I see that. You became a member. I gave you a shout out about it, buddy. Thank you so much, Michael Lindsay. All right. Let's get back to it. Well, hold on. So we then go to a piece that is starting to have some concern for me. And hold on, I'm just going to bring it up real quick. Wait for it. Wait for it. Whoops. What button do I hit, good people? I hit that button. All right, so we have Dodge, and of course we have Hugh, which is intriguing to me. Hugh really didn't do a lot. There wasn't a lot to his character here, so I can't really add more to it. I don't have a lot to add to Hugh, I'll be honest with you, for the moment, until they do more with her. So we have Dodge's sister here, right? We have her sister who... My concern here is she's starting to feel on par with Michael Burnham. The only thing that makes us not realize it is that we have an ensemble cast, and it's not focused on one person. I think that we're getting to the point where she may be written they could go one way or the other on this. I honestly feel, because she's the most intelligent person. People don't like saying no to her. She gets what she wants. Everybody looks up to her. She's some kind of soothsayer. The bad guy falls in love with her and doesn't want her to be hurt. Talk to you later, Bruno. Thanks for coming by. I am concerned. She's not there yet. But I think we have the propensity for her to be broken. Again, for her to be Michael Burnham-esque. And so I think that is going to be a real concern in the future. If they keep going around the Michael Burnham route. And I hope they don't. I hope they present her like we see with Dodge, which has a little more flaw, has a little more dynamic. She does know all the languages. Yeah, so it's concerning to a degree. However, some of the interesting things that we learn, and I like, again, I think that the writing here is so much better than what we see in Discovery. They don't tell you, they don't look at the camera and say, you're supposed to see X, Y, and Z here. We learn a lot about the Romulan Free State. Most people don't like ex-Borg now. Apparently, the galaxy, to a degree, is racist. They either look at them as damaged goods, or they look at them as property. Apparently, the Romulan Free State looks at them as both. Apparently, the Romulan Free State is using the Borg Collective. While they're freeing people, they're trying to get all the information and all the technology from the Borg. And it leads us to believe that the people they're freeing, they're not just letting go, but they're still trying to use in some way. All we have really seen is that she's competent at her job. No, Alex, I disagree. We have seen a lot about her. She can speak almost every language. People don't say no to her. She's very compelling. The hero falls in love with her. She has an infinite amount of positive traits. And as far as we've seen so far, no negative ones, except for she can't see an evil guy when one is standing right in front of her. We know a lot about her. To say that all we know is that she is competent is dishonest at worst, and at best naive. I don't mean that in a negative way. I don't mean that to be insulting, but that's just the truth about it. All right. So Romulan Free State, we see some intriguing stuff, but again, it's here or there how that's going to be impactful. Let me turn that off for a second. Da, 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 da. We come back here. I'm not going to really spend too much time on this specifically. The one thing I will say is that it's funny how she has evidence that there is something wrong in Starfleet, how there's a cover-up, and he dismisses it. That is so against Picard's character, in my opinion. Cover-ups in Starfleet Command have happened during his tenure at least twice. So him saying, oh, this is what happened, I don't know that's... I don't know why he'd say that when he knows for a fact that that's common and can happen. And he's the one that says it's happening now. That Starfleet is covering up for Tal Shiar on Earth. So, I don't... I don't know why he would be against there being a cover-up, why he is so sure that she is wrong on that. That seems against his character to me. By the way, someone was talking to the evil guy not fall in love with her. It is so apparent he is. He even admits it while he's making the sweet, sweet lovin's to her, while he's giving her the Philly cheesesteak that she so earnestly wants. That it is. Yeah. Yeah. Dax equals Dodge. No, I would not agree with that at all. I don't think Dodge is anywhere near Dax. Oh my gosh, I'd sell my soul to the Borg in a moment to live eternally as the Oz thought amongst billions excites me. Even when my unit is done, I would still be with the one. I don't think you're still with the one, and I don't think it's as cool. A show about normal everyday people who are neither very negative or very positive would be boring. So one person is the drug addled at Starfleet, and the other is Data with female organs. It's not Data with female organs. Data had flaws. Data wanted to be human. Data didn't understand interactions. Data was methodical and logical, but didn't understand human emotion. Data could be co-opted. Again, as I'm saying, this looks like they might be going the Michael Burnham route. They might not. But it's not Data. It is disingenuous it is disingenuous at worst, naive at best to even put those together. Now, maybe she'll turn out to be very dynamic, like any good character should be. But right now, we don't see those dynamics. So I'm hoping they'll go, you know? Mako says she's supposed to be a 9/11 truther. That's why he doesn't believe her evidence. Well, I mean, they didn't show us the evidence. I just don't know. It just doesn't... I don't know. Data was human. Okay. Vivette Mintek, every evil Russian woman spy fell in love with James Bond. Sure. I have quite a few issues with James Bond as a written character. We can go through those if you'd like. Yeah, wasn't there this one in the Federation was taken over by parasites? Yeah, there was a cover-up by the Bluegills. I mean, again, Starfleet Command being taken over just means that it is a month in the year. Is what that means. Whatever happened to Lore, we don't know yet. He was dismantled and probably destroyed, though. That is my opinion. By the way, 120 people watching, only 56 likes. Don't be afraid of that like. The likes are more scared of you than you are of them, good friends. So here's something that I want to... Here's something I caught, and I'd be curious of your guys' thoughts. And here, I'm actually going to put this on there. So here is the Vulcan lady, right? The Vulcan chief of security. And I'll put the video back up in just a second. But she comes to talk to Star Trek's Kaylee, the scientist. She's a scientist, not an engineer, but Star Trek's Kaylee. And you see... Give me a second. And you see the head of Starfleet security wearing sunglasses. So here's my question for the masses. Is the head of Starfleet security from the Mirror Universe? These glasses, from a uniform standpoint, seem out of character. There seemed to be no reason for her to be wearing sunglasses. Unless it's too bright outside for her. I wonder if they're going to try to bring in Discovery's Mirror Universe to show how, things have fallen. I wonder if that's where they're going to go. Hontus Farmer helping out the channel, saying here, thanks for the entertainment. Hey, I'm here for you, buddy. I'm here for you. The MIB survived in the 24th century. Yeah, that could be it, too. Yeah, I don't understand why she has those sunglasses. It makes very little sense. It could just be a a stylistic decision to try to make her seem different, I guess. Also, her going and reaching out to Kaylee, or whatever this chick's name is, Star Trek's Kaylee, is confusing to me. I don't know why the head of Starfleet would do it herself, unless she just wants something done right. Maybe she doesn't trust it. Don't know why they didn't give her a trench coat as well. You don't know. Don't Vulcans have 3 suns that orbit their planet? They have something like 2 suns. I know. It could have a HUD display. I agree. But that seems... They've been a lot more futuristic. And so her having sunglasses that has a HUD on it just doesn't seem as futuristic as where they'd go. Because they would have just something in her eye. Like she'd be wearing something, you know? She's just bad at being a secret officer. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, that's what I was saying beforehand, Mako. That she could be Mirror Universe. That's why it is. I mean, that's an obvious tell right there. And no, they don't look futuristic at all. So, generally, one thing I'll say is they do seem to try to keep the aesthetic consistent. And this seems like a break in the aesthetic, unless they're trying to do some foreshadowing. So, I don't know. It's just a thought. Let's keep moving. Yeah, that's what I want to do. So, Soji, or whatever her name is, I honestly don't know, comes to see this Romulan. So here's some interesting things, some foreshadowing, where all of it, I think, is going to tie in together. So the last... so the last ship, the Borg cube, ever assimilated was a Romulan ship. This Romulan ship, of all of the Borg that they found, after it assimilated the Romulan ship, something happened. A massive breakdown, and the Borg disconnected from the cube, which tells us that the Borg collective still exists. So the Borg collective is still out there. So the question is, if the Borg collective still survived, and they disconnected from this... They disconnected once they assimilated this ship. What did the Romulans do? Now, intriguingly, some of the Borg that are disconnected and saved by the people here are disoriented. They have some kind of issues with their brains. And so they just aren't able to function. They aren't who they used to be. And it's only happening to this Romulan ship. And so you have a Romulan ship. The Romulan ship's assimilated. The collective disconnects. All the people are screwed up who came from that ship. Obviously, they're putting something together there. My theory is that they probably... The Vosh Ash or whatever probably are trying to destroy the collective just like anything else. So... They probably infected this Borg cube so that they could get it, study it, and find out how to destroy the Borg themselves. It also probably helps the Romulan Free State get technology and start to become a superpower again, because now they're using Borg technology. So, I that would be my theory. I'm open to what you guys think. Halo Reloaded, what up? I think it's because she actually is Romulan, not Vulcan. Romulus seemed like a dark place in TNG. Talking about the Commodore? You think the Commodore was actually a Romulan? I said that to begin with, and people said I was crazy. They said, no, that's not what's happening. You're wrong. So, I don't know. But yeah, so looking at this person, I don't know. There's not too much more to add to it. Obviously, they did something to them, which messed with the Borg. Another thing, though, I like is it seems like um, those who were assimilated and then come out of it, I like them putting together possibly a a religion of sorts or a mythology that brings them together. That is so tragic, but it seems like something sapient, sentient human beings would do. Not human beings, sapient, sentient beings would do. So you're assimilated, you come out, and you build a mythology around it, or possibly even a mythology within the collective, given how many religious types have been assimilated. That is I like that. I could see people not, but the fact that they're those who are assimilated who leave, starting to come together around symbology and stuff, almost seems like a natural state to me. I don't know. The English gent helping out. All I'm going to say is TNG Season 1, Episode 24, Conspiracy, covered Federation Takeover way better than Picard. Even DS9 has done better. This is old territory. It may be old territory. I'm not going to say it was done better because unlike those, they're not doing it in 1 or 2 episodes, but they're spreading it out over a couple of episodes, if not an entire series. I think to say which one did it better, we're going to need to wait for the fulfillment. You can say at the moment you think it was done better, but I think we need to see where they go with it, just to be fair. But thanks for the support, and as always, you and me generally disagree on this, but that's okay. That's okay. We now know that Chief Operative is Romulan. I actually thought the Commodore was a Romulan in disguise. She may be. I don't know that she is. Honestly, I don't think she is. I'll tell you why. In the last episode, the obviously Romulan chick who was working as a Starfleet officer, she was a Romulan, we know for a fact. She goes to talk to her brother and she says we still need the Commodore as an ally, which leads me to believe that the Commodore is in fact not a Romulan, but a Vulcan who just saw the logic in what the Romulans were trying to do. I don't think she is, in fact, a Romulan. I think that we have evidence to show she's not. That may be retconned later, but the Borg do worship to some degree the Omega particle, which doesn't make the largest amount of sense, but I can see what they were trying to do. So then the next scene we have Raffi, who's doing, or not Raffi, I'm sorry. She is Raffi, but I prefer to call her Star Trek Zoe. Doing research. Picard sends her information. It's the trope, I'm not actually working, blah, 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 blah. We then get to meet Captain Manspreader, which is always... Oh, first... Look at this beauty. Look at this beauty. Can I be the first one to say... I just want to be the first one to say that I think that the Normandy looks lit. I love what they did with Mass Effect's Normandy. I mean, just look how beautiful that ship is. It's just epically good. Love it. 10 out of 10, Star Trek. You nailed Mass Effect. Love it. Beautiful. We then go to the hologram everyone talks about with Captain Manspreader. Look at that eye candy too. Look at that, man. Look at that piece of meat. Just delicious. Oh, naked. Oh, love it. We're so progressive. We got a naked man. Yummy. We have the EMH. There's a couple of things to this. So first off, this ship is unregistered. Doesn't have any official flight plans. Currently is over Earth. Think about that. Earth that has space dock around it, should have, in theory, tons of ships on it. Probes of every kind. Earth has an unregistered ship that nobody sees and doesn't have a cloaking device from what we can tell. Huh. All right, so he meets the EMH. This is unregistered, so the fact that he has an EMH, it doesn't break anything. The archive EMH does seem to create an issue. I agree there. Hey, at least we're seeing a starship without all the lens flare. That's, that's true. That is fact. He says nothing on your glorious shirtless body. Oh, obviously, he's nothing on my shirtless body. I'm sexy. They should just call his beard trek. Yep. That sounds like me on my last. Oh, yummies. Naked man. Yeah. You on your last date? Oh, I wouldn't say that on my last date. My date might say that on the last date. Hey. Wouldn't the Soul Sector fleet be all over them? Yes, Camille, I agree. If there was an unregistered ship that was doing illegal things, you would think that. All right. So we got Captain Manspreader. He's got something inside of him. They have a conversation. They talk about money and getting things done. So an economy now is here. There's not really a ton to this. I actually did enjoy this scene. I thought this scene was done pretty well. The captain is a stereotype, but I think they're just good actors. I'll be honest, Picard is showing his age. Patrick Stewart is showing his age. He is just old. And I don't mean that negatively. It's just he's old, and it's really hard not to act old when you're old. And it's just showing. Sean helping out the channel, saying to my sexiness, thank you. That is appreciated, good sir. And the only other thing to add, I think, is that about to jump on? No, it's not. The only other thing to add, I would say, is that he talks about being a Starfleet officer and on a ship that was removed. We don't know a lot about that backstory. I'm sure we'll hear more about it later. Yeah. Maybe Picard has access codes to make the ship invisible to sensors. Picard didn't even know about this ship. He would not have given any sensor data or information. This ship was here. This is just them talking and seeing if he's going to be hired. So, yeah, he wouldn't have given any of that information. Oh, and another thing, the captain likes having his scars, which is another thing, I guess. Oh, yeah, look. Also, one second. More smoking. I can't get a shot of it. How edgy are we? More smoking. Ooh. Then we see him reading a book. How cultured Captain Manspreading is. How cultured. He has a conversation with his EMH who talks about how awesome Picard is, and Picard is on the side of the angels, and he needs to help the ones on the side of the angels, and blah, 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 blah. They should have just made a Ferengi sitcom spinoff. Yeah. Here's a good point, DJ Minor. It's not like Picard knows of a planet that can restore a being to the prime of their youth. That is true. So, let's keep on moving. There isn't really a lot to add in this part, so I'm not really saying much. If you guys have anything you want to say, I didn't find a lot to it. It's well acted, but from a lore standpoint, there's not a ton, you know? Hold on. Wait for it. Wait for it. By the way, the last from the 25-minute standpoint till, I don't know, the 30 standpoint, what they do with music, what they do with the acting, I love it. I love everything about it. And you'll see in a second. Whoa. So Picard is about to leave his caretakers, his Tal Shiar caretakers, who are excellent, by the way. The fact that they aren't taking these actors with them is an honest to God crime. Uh, and they're having, and interestingly enough, they are attacked, and the Tal Shiar agents just go crazy, man. They start fighting. It's really a pretty epic fight scene. Again, you're seeing how old Patrick Stewart is, because he's not able to do a lot of the action part scenes. It's leaving it to the other actors. But it's understandable. It's just, for someone who remembered him when he was in The Next Generation and other movies, it's unfortunate. I wish he had been... It would have been nice if this type of technology in the real world allowed him to be more actiony, if they were going to do that. What's kind of funny is the amount of weapons they have hidden around Picard's manor, or where he lives, because while they're fighting, so these Tal Shiar agents rush in. You got 5 or 6 heavily armed stealth agents that are able to disable the security system, and they're just attacking the compound. And so during the attack, though, the Tal Shiar agents, the caretakers that you're seeing right here, I think I have them up, unless it's still not done. Yeah, I do. They'll be in a fight, and they'll duck under a table and randomly find a weapon to use. I think that it's funny and excellent and seems very Tal Shiar. And interestingly enough, the 3 of them together are able to take out most all of them, except for one. They're saved by Star Trek's Kaylee. But for the most part, they take out all of them. Another thing I like, let me say this before I continue on. Another thing I like, one of the pieces that always annoyed me, or always annoys me in like action. Hold on, I'm trying to find it. There it is. Bam! That always annoys me in action, or always annoys me in movies, is when the good guys just stomp the bad guys, or the bad guys just stomp the good guys. Fights rarely are as one-sided as we see in the movies, and so I like it when both sides get hits off. In this, I think it is done well, because they're fighting, and both sides are getting good punches in. Like, you see, he's just knocking the living hell out of her. He gets his, though. Don't worry. And that's one of the things I think when you look at Tolkien's work, the movies, Lord of the Rings. Neither side in any battle ever really just stomped the other. Even when the numbers showed that they were going to get annihilated, both sides always got good hits off. And I think that's more realistic, and that's something I appreciate about the writing here, and I appreciate about the action, that everybody gets a hit in, because generally it's not one side. Now it can be, but generally it's not. And I think that's done really well. Again, then you have Kaylee comes in, Star Trek's Kaylee comes in and shoots the last person. They had a funny piece where she shoots him. It's the first time she's ever attacked someone, you can tell. And she's like, man, maybe I hit him on stun. And one of the caretakers is like, well, Romulan weapons don't come on stun. So she just killed a person, and she's trying to deal with that. I thought that was done both comedically and tragically very well, in my opinion. Though she gets over it pretty quick. She killed a person, and she gets over it very, very quickly. The interrogation scene is probably my most favorite in all of this, I think. It is excellently done, because first you have these Tal Shiar agents who gave up their lifestyle, right? But now they're kind of fallen back into who they were. The guy in the male caretaker walks back over. And what's interesting, so the female caretaker is tying him up, making sure he's okay. The male caretaker walks over, and he's about to do some kind of ancient Romulan move of the devil, I guess, and just fucking murder the guy. And she has to remind him that they're not Tal Shiar agents anymore. It's not their way. I like that. I think that was done really well. I love these two characters. I want to know more about these two characters. I want these two characters in all of it. She took a life, a Romulan life. I see what you did there, Ima. I see what you did there. I really, I think it was excellent. And then, of course, now you guys bring up a good thing. Let's go back to that a second. The blonde was part of the Romulan task force. I never even considered that. Could she be a Romulan agent? It doesn't make... So she just randomly shows up and is behind a guy that doesn't see her and attacks him and then freaks out and then is so easily over it. I never even considered that. Huh. I don't think that's what they're going to do with Star Trek's Kaylee, but that would make a lot of sense. Huh. That just makes it bad writing if it's not. Because, yeah, I mean, when you think about it, he was just standing right there. How did he not see her coming? Where did she get that gun from? I like that. Neurotic. What is it? Neoteric Bedlam. I'm probably going to put that in a lore theory. Neoteric. Anyway, going back to the interrogation. They don't really get a lot of information. Again, the cinematography and the way they cut between here and the Borg cube and the music just sells it. It is done so well. From a technical standpoint, it's excellent. They don't get a lot from him. He then kills himself again, which I'm sure people is like, oh God, Romulans don't do that. What's up, beautiful? No, don't turn on TV just yet, okay? I'll be done in a little bit. Okay. I love you. Hey, go play on the iPad with your sister. Take turns watching it. Or you guys can go play with toys and stuff too. You don't have to stare at screens. Anyway. Yeah, hey, girls, can you go downstairs for me, please? Lorelai? Okay. All right. So, he, of course, as you know, they have the acid and chomp on the acid, right? Obviously, some kind of tooth or something, though I'm sure people got upset. I don't understand why people get so upset about the tooth stuff. It seems pretty silly. That makes a lot of sense to me. I don't know why people go crazy about it. And then we obviously have Sachi being attacked or whatever. We come back. She talks to her mom, who puts her to sleep. Sachi talks about Dodge having a dog. And again, just puts her to sleep. It's a security protocol of some sort. And for the most part, that's honestly where it ends. The evil person is obviously evil. His sister shows up. I do think he's in love with her, but they don't really... I do think that the evil Romulan is in love with Sati, Dodge, whatever the hell. The other cyborg. I'm not good with her name. And then... Stop. Sorry, guys. Then you have them show up on the ship, and they're finally off of Earth. 3 episodes, and they're finally off of Earth. And so you have Captain Manspreader. Apparently, Star Trek Zoe's coming on, but she's only coming on for this trip. They think that Maddox is at, what is it, Free Cloud or wherever the hell it is. So they're going to go there. And she's going there, but she's totally not going to be a part of this anymore. After they get there, she's outie. We know that's happening. We have, of course, Star Trek's Kaylee there. And she's coming because, of course, she is. And they're off, and they do the engage thing. Basically, I honestly look at this episode is the ending of what should have been a mini movie. I think that this was, you know how Battlestar Galactica had its two-part mini movie? That's really what this is, in my opinion. This is a setup for the entire adventure that's to come. When you think about it, it's worrying, especially when you look at what the next episode is going to be on another planet as well. This is Star Trek. And so far, my new Star Trek show with Picard, who was known for going off and finding new life forms and meeting new people, who was always in space, has been on Earth for 30%, because there's 10 episodes, right? 30% of it is them on Earth. Assuming the next episode is as advertised, that's all on Planet 2, 40%, almost half, is going to be on planets in a Star Trek series. That's a little concerning for me. I want more space. I want more Star Trek. I get that they had the Borg cube, but that was a minor piece to it. Do I think the mom was an AI? I think she was a security protocol. I do. It kind of was the mini movie. I think they just didn't want to do it that again when it was what they did with Discovery, and that was a huge flop. They didn't really do a mini movie with Discovery, but I get what you're saying. Chuck Cards has said the first 3 eps were always planned to be the full pilot. Okay. I've not heard that. I don't know what sources they'd be using for that. Is it outside of the scope? Not necessarily, but that's not something I've heard. Nope. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts? The bad guy mentioned having a dead brother. Now he has an evil sister. One fan theory is that the sister was the brother before the appearance changing. Your thoughts? I don't think they'd do that. I know a lot of people like to say it's woke, but I don't think they've done that. That'd be silly, I think. And not because it'd be silly because it's not a good way to introduce that dynamic. I think that if they wanted to have a trans person, they could, but not. I don't like doing it that way. I did like seeing what Earth was like at this point in time. I don't mind seeing what Earth is like. I'm not a huge fan of seeing Earth for 3 hours for 30% of my Star Trek, personally. That's a subjective opinion, I think. Remember when Star Trek was actually about trekking across the stars? Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Now, maybe they're going to do that. That could be the rest of the series, or it could be 60% of the series. But for right now, they didn't do that. We need 100 Starfleet shuttles. They do need it. It seems more like it's trying to copy that other show, you know, the one about the group of people that randomly come together to complete some sort of grand mission that was prophesized by some mystic. I don't know what... I don't get the reference. That would be silly, but then they introduced so many silly things in Star Trek Discovery. If the sister can change appearance, so can the blonde. I don't know what you're... Well, I mean, I guess, yeah. Neoteric, you're all about that. We've already discussed, and I've said that is a possibility, for sure. That Star Trek's Kaylee is actually some kind of Romulan plant. DS9 wasn't trekking across the stars either. Good old gamer, are you really that dishonest? No, I'm gonna ask you straight out. Are you really that dishonest? Deep Space Nine happened on a station that was still in the stars, that still met new civilizations and new species, and still dealt with space to a large extent. We don't even with the pieces about the Borg. Picard himself never really even went into space till this episode. Are you really going to be that disingenuous, good friend? Really? And yes, they ultimately did introduce the Defiant, where they could then at that point go off and do other things. What's going on, Ivan from Peru? So do you guys have anything else you want to add, or are we going to end it right here? I may come back later today. I have a few things. What's so bad with having Star Trek take place on Earth? that was the original Enterprise idea. It wasn't the original Enterprise. Well, I mean, if it's the original Enterprise idea, it was a bad one. I'm glad they didn't do it. The problem with... Let me tell you the problem with that. Here's the problem. I can say it really easy for you. Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before. That's the problem. In theory, I think you could argue that with DS9 that they didn't go too far. DS9, where do the life forms come to you? Where the life forms come to you. That is true, DJ Minor. Seems anti-woke, making a trans person evil and deceptive, yet a hot chick. Lots of fans would love it. I disagree, Huntus Farmer. I don't think so. I think it's demeaning and it's pandering. I think you could do better. But I guess we'll have to see if that's the way they go. What's up, chick? I'm live.
Hey, Boo. I guess they can't see me because I can't see myself.
Well, they can see you. Yeah, hold on. That's just a delay. Hold on.
Okay.
See? They see you right there.
Hi.
What's up?
I'm trying to make it every live stream I'm in.
Do you feel better?
A little.
Okay. I love you. Give me a hug. Can you what? Have ice cream? Yeah. Give one to your sister too, though.
Love you.
Love you.
Rate, comment, and subscribe on the video.
Oh yeah, comment and subscribe. By the way, gamer, we're good. I hope you still are here, man. I'm giving you a hard time, but I do think that's disingenuous, and I think you know you're being disingenuous because you're an intelligent guy. Personally, I think a large point of having multiple shows is to explore the franchise in multiple facets. If they have one that takes place 30% on Earth, that's fine by me. Okay. Mr. Robot had a great evil trans person, though. Mr. Robot? Though these Romulans are cartoonishly evil. I don't know who Mr. Robot is. I don't get it. 3 episodes on Earth, and suddenly it's Star Trek is now Earth Trek. I'm and Gamer both being dishonest. Both coming out with the dishonest takes. Disingenuous. I love it, Ima. Why don't you give another bad take? Since the fact that I don't think it'd be a good idea to make that female trans, I'm anti-trans rights. There you go. Nail it. Come on. Let's keep getting some of those hot bad takes. Let's do it. Star Trek Picard is about Picard and his issues with his command decisions. It's not about starting a crew and going into the stars in a shiny new ship. Well, then it maybe not have it on a Star Trek, maybe not have it in the Star Trek franchise. Maybe that. Maybe do that. If you don't want to go and explore new worlds, maybe make something that doesn't have a Star Trek skin to it. You ever thought about that, Sean? You ever thought about that? Got to be asking yourself where it is now, Sean. Being trans myself, I agree it'd be demeaning and retrograde, but then that seems to be the way people like to see us. You have a good day too, Hans. I didn't know that you were trans. Huh. Interesting. Read chat. Someone really lets Star Trek is Earth Trek. Oh, I got you, Ima. Ima, you know I'm giving you a hard time anyway. I know that we can have our back and forth, that we can get onto each other and still be friends. With the other shows, I'd say the narrative was more open-ended that allowed the writers to have various scenarios occur. With Picard, it seems like it's limited to the narrative's focus at this time. I mean, here's my thing. I'm not saying it's horrifically bad that it was on track. It was just something I pointed out. I didn't even think that was a hot take. I'm gonna level with you here. Maybe it is. I would prefer that they more have it in space, you know? So what you're saying is they used the Star Trek franchise because their own personal story was too lame. I don't think that this would be... I don't think people would watch this without Star Trek being assigned to it. I'll say that. Someone tell me, give it time and it will become what it will be. Yeah, I mean, it's got plenty of time. You know? I don't... I think this was the weakest episode, but I don't think it's bad by any stretch. I am not anti-trans rights at all. That's what I'm saying. That would be a very bad take. Kelly Carjola. DS9 wasn't about trekking across the stars. The stars came to them for a few reasons. It wasn't about being on a planet either, which was the conversation we had, gamer. It wasn't about being on a planet. It was still in space, which is what I was saying. I don't know that it was a soap opera, but... Legendary Blade, you and every mainstream media is against the rights of YouTubers. Star Trek isn't about space exploration. Maybe Neoteric. Star Trek isn't about space exploration. All right, hold on. Star definition. Star, a fixed luminous point in the night sky, which is a large, remote, incandescent body like the sun. Okay. So Star Trek isn't about space exploration. So let's break that up. Star, a fixed luminous point in the night sky, which is a large, remote, incandescent body like the sun. Trek definition. A long, arduous journey, especially one made on foot. To go on a long, arduous journey. Star, a fixed luminous point in the night sky, which is a large, remote, incandescent body like the sun, going on a long, arduous journey. Star, trek. Star, a fixed luminous point in the night sky, which is a large, remote, incandescent body like the sun. Then trekking to it is going on a long, arduous journey. So if you were to trek or go on a long, arduous journey to a star, which is a fixed luminous point in the night sky, which is a large, remote, incandescent body like the sun, trekking the stars, Star Trek, to trek across the star. You're right, it has nothing to do with space or exploration. You nailed it. You nailed it. Didn't DS9 also have several episodes on Earth? They had a couple on Earth. Well, it depends. So they had one that was an alternate universe. And then they had two or three with Cisco when he went crazy. How many episodes are in DS9? DS9 has 176 episodes. Stupid ass Windows 10 not working. Fucking hate this thing. 176. 176. I'll give you 5. Let's say there was 5. I don't think there was. Divided by 176. 6 divided by 5. Or 5 divided by 176. So 2%, less than 2% of the episodes were on Earth. And then 30% of the episodes in Picard are on Earth. 2%? 30%. 2%? 30%. You know what? You're right. Nailed it. Got him. Yes, it was a soap opera. Okay. I mean, maybe it was a gamer. I never really looked at it. It may have been. Oh. Picard is not free online, and if you share anything that gives it stolen, then I won't. Carjola? Oh, yeah, I know how to say your name. There was the Starfleet security coup arc from DS9, if I recall. Yeah, so I mean, maybe I would say 5 or 6. You guys are really taking it too far, though. I got to be honest. That's the reason why I'm trolling you back, just so you know. It was an offhanded comment where I was like, man, 30% on Earth, I don't think I'm a huge fan of that. And you guys are like, oh my God, didn't they do that in other series? You're really taking it far off, which is why I'm breaking down the definition of Star Trek as well as doing a division on the percentage. Move Along Home was just written horrifically. It was horrible. Seems like they gutted the budget for Picard. I don't know that they did. I thought they did well with the budget. I mean, maybe, but I don't think so. I tell you, it was Move Along Home. When I was first watching it, and Move Along Home Siddig, Bashir. I wanted him fired. I wanted him fired to hell and back. I hated his actor could not act at all. And they wanted to fire Bashir. And I would have said yes. I would have said fire the living hell out of that actor. But you know what? I was wrong. Bashir becomes my favorite actor towards the end. I think he's excellent at what he does. But when I first saw him, I did not like him as an actor. Yeah, I'd skip Move Along Home. It doesn't add anything. It's not that well done. All right, guys, anything else to add before we end this fun little romp of festivities? Deep Space Nine was the name of the space station, so it kind of gives away what the show is about. That's true. Of course, Star Trek Picard isn't being subtle either. I wonder if they have a... plan if something happened to Sir Patrick Stewart. I don't want anything to happen, but I like Picard. I hope they continue it this way. I think it has gotten weaker. Episode 1 was really strong. Episode 3, not so much. Episode 2 was really in the middle. I hope that they really do well. I'd love for this to be a very good, strong season 1. So discovering Picard, give no hope. I don't know what you mean by that, Barry. If you're talking about earlier, it looks like Picard, I think, has hope in that. I think it may be a good series. But when it comes to Starfleet, I think we're going to see the degradation of it. Oh, I'm glad you're here, Jimmy. Glad you got to hang out. By the way, Bad Gamer and Tater... Was it Tater? What was the name? Tatro? Started at T. We were getting into it. Tatarak. And Ima, you guys know me. I'm messing with you for the most part. I mean, I will say that I do think maybe you asked questions that were being a little bit, not in a bad way. You may have been messing with me, but a little bit disingenuous, but I'm not mad or anything. I like giving you guys a hard time. You like giving me a hard time. I love the EMH. I thought he was fun. Picard is badly written. When will they get better writers? I think Picard writing is done well. I got to disagree. Enjoyed the first 2 episodes of Picard, although they seem to have been written by the bulk of release, so it's starting awfully slow. Could be. I can understand why it's slow. Episode 3 feels more like a transition. I would agree. I think it is a transition episode, which has me a little worried. So the next episode may show us what they really want to do with Picard, or the 5th one. I'm hoping they keep this type of thing where it's a slow burn. I mean, they can get more actiony and stuff because that's what needs to happen. But I do think that the first 3 was like a prelogue. Not a prelogue. What the fuck is the word? Man, I'm in film school. I don't think it's prologue. Is it prologue? Yeah, prologue. Why am I getting confused about that? Oh my god. I think it may have been a prologue, which worries me that the writing is going to drastically change. But I hope not. I hope not. Enjoyed the first 2. Yeah, we already said that. All right, guys. I guess we're going to end it here. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. Probably no video out. Man, my week has been shot to hell. For a variety of reasons. But don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, guys. I'm going to see you on the next Lore Reloaded.